So good morning, good morning. It is Friday, March the 29th, 2019. You are listening to Radio Free Radford.com, and of course, appreciate all the support and feedback that you all give as well. And anyway, temperatures out there today are staying in the mid 40s this morning. We're going to quickly get up to the 70s this afternoon, so we're already warming up very quickly. Later on today, we'll be getting up to forecast high near 71 with a overnight low of about 47 degrees. And so if you're planning to do anything out and about today, you should be A-okay. We'll be seeing a lot of the sunshine as well. So if you do have plans, like I said, to be doing anything, you should be in good condition. So moving on things around the area right now. Let's see here, so you get this going so you can kind of see what I'm looking at here on the back of the phone here, right here. So the phone is on behind me. Of course, live here on the radio feed here for Radio Free Radford. So we're going to go ahead and look up some things that are, I guess, in the news this morning as I'm pulled up here. We'll go to usatoday.com. Trying to switch things up a little bit. Obviously, March Madness last night, there were several big games last night. And so what we do know, here's some of the key games, some of the teams that have made it into the the Sweet 16, to be the Final Four coming up. So UVA did win last night, so they'll be moving on to the Final Four. So that is in the making. We have Texas Tech could possibly take it on, and they did last night very well. Played Michigan. They played, I believe it was. And then I tell you what, the big game against it was Purdue, I think it was. They played one of the other teams. I can't remember the exact name of it, but my goodness, they put up a big game. The score was like 99 to 92. Tennessee, I think that's who they were playing. They were playing Tennessee. And they kept going back and forth at it. And you would think they would get to a win at some point. So they went into overtime, about 5 minutes into overtime. They finally took care of it and said, okay, Purdue moves on to play. So today, UNC and Duke, UNC and don't forget the other team. I'm going to pull the bracket up for me. Why not? And see who is playing left, because that might be helpful on my end. So, all right, we do have Virginia Tech taking on Duke today. It's on CBS. Auburn and UNC will be playing today. That's on TBS at 7:29. LSU and Michigan State will be taking on at 7:09 on CBS. And then Houston and Kentucky. Of course, Kentucky's a pretty good team so far this season. They've been doing a pretty well job done with their season so far, it looks like. Again, not the most savviest person with sports, but that's why you can check out Tristan Blake Ryan's on the Ryan's Report. His show is at 11 a.m. here on RadioFreeRadford.com, so you can check his show out after mine here every Friday. Of course, this is his last semester here, so he has been with the Radio Free Radford for about 3 years or so. Of course, we do have his interview up. It's on my YouTube channel. Search up Dustin Staples. It's on for the first semester, September 29th is the podcast, and it's got a thumbnail of him at Club Fair. So that's the way that rolls out. So anyway, a lot of upsets from yesterday's game, from last night into today. So there's going to be a lot of big upsets. Of course, Tech and Duke is a big game. A lot of people are wanting Tech to win. Of course, I'm a Hokie fan, but I'm also here at Radford University. So Duke's a pretty good team. So we'll see how they play. Of course, they have the Zion Adams. As you know, he's a very big person. We had that discussion on several weeks on Tristan's show. So anyway, so there's some of that that's also going on around the sports world. As you may know, the Mueller investigation has been finally wrapped up. They concluded that earlier this week with Trump, as you know, back in 2016, saying the Russian meddling investigation, that was a part on with them. And, of course, they would say no, yes, no, yes, no. And so they recently came to a closing with that, which is a relief for a lot of folks who are probably happy about that. They're obviously something, if you've been keeping track with the airlines, the Boeing investigation, as you know, they had some issues earlier this week about what they were doing, and the 797 Boeing MX had some difficulties as it crashed, and they're still investigating on with that. So that's some of your news from USA Today. Take a look at the National Day is here on the National Day of National Calendar, nationaldaycalendar.com. Of course, it is the 29th of March. So we're wrapping things up here smoothly. It is National Nevada Day. We've had two states named this had their state day this week. How about that? Virginia Day is actually September the 14th. So there you go. We're on there at some point. It's also National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Don't be confused with Veterans Day and Vietnam Day, which is the big wars, and we thank all of our men and women for taking their time to do so as well. It's also National Lemon Kiffin Cake Day. So if you like sweets, we've had about sweets every day it seems like this month, and most of this week too. We've had a lot of those sweet treat days. So there you go. And then of course we'll take a look at our quote of the day. See what is in the making for that. And of course, that's not what I'm looking for. Fall fashion. No, thank you. Now, again, if you do like the fashion, there you go. That's something that just popped up with the website. So let's see what happens here. Quote of the day. Of course, I should have put this up earlier. The way quick. Here's the quote of the day. This is by BrainyQuote.com. Of course, this is by Willa Cather. Where there is great love, there are always wishes. Again, where there is great love, there are always wishes. So there you go. There's your quote of the day. It's by BrainyQuote.com. Let's see what else has been going on. Weather news wise, of course, it's been fairly kind of quiet around our area. Not much has been occurring. We've been kind of drying out. Thankfully, of course, we did have, there was I think it was the full moon, I think it was last week. Of course, the spring equinox. Of course, we're wrapping things up here in March, so believe it or not, we've been fairly dry for the latter half of this month, which has been fairly surprising. And we're actually in a little bit of a drought now, almost a deficit of about a little bit over an inch at the most here in the New River Valley. So how about that? We are now in a deficit of rain where we have had too much rain. So we have that to, thankfully, it's not like we're going to be in a drought situation by no means, but we are in kind of a situation now where things are sort of able to kind of be unsaturated a little bit, and they can kind of dry out just a little bit more. So there you go. Of course, the big flooding that occurred back in the Midwest, it's still impacting those folks in Mississippi. The Mississippi River will be coming over, is expected to crest later this weekend. As more rain, as more floodwaters are expected from the snowmelt, and of course a lot of the rain from the Midwest from last weekend, this week again is expected to overcome its banks. Of course, this is from the Washington Post. They put out this morning the extreme weather that hit people 62 million last year in 2018. Of course, they report that the weather, I didn't mean to knock the mic over. The weather agency says extreme weather from last year hit over 62 million worldwide, and get this, forced 2 million people to relocate as a man-made climate changes impacting the world. Of course, the World Meteorological Organization put out the annual state global climate report. Says Earth was nearly a degree, 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it was the industrial start of the year. And of course, world leaders are trying to eliminate warming to 3.6 degrees, which is 2 degrees Celsius, which may not seem like a lot, but it is. And so that's something you got to keep very, very concerned about. Obviously, we know we've had that big cyclone that just hit parts of Africa, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Those areas had impacted it very impactful, so they recently had impacts with that. Obviously, they say climate change is a potential hazard, and it needs to come to an end. And so last year, here's what this page says. It's from the Washington Post. You can go check this out. Of course, just search up the UN reports extreme weather hit 62 million people in 2018. If you Google that, it will pop up. So they're saying this. They made a 44-page report. It says flood affected 35 million people. A drought hit about another 9 million people. Adding to the problem of growth, of course, farmers are having a difficult time with this, as you know, and of course now they're having a difficult time with all the flooding they just had out in the Midwest. So Heat ocean reached a record high, and the oceans are getting more acidic and losing the oxygen, so a little bit more difficult for sea creatures to live under the ocean waters. For those that are more concerned about that, there are some exceptions. The glaciers are melting. Unfortunately, that continues, and the polar oceans are continuing to shrink. So that's another hazard for global warming and climate change. Put that together. The level of carbon dioxide in the air hits high record levels. How about that? And carbon dioxide is the most problem there that they added. Of course, adding the gases stay in the air for hundreds of years. Of course, the jet stream, which pretty much loops around like this, it continues to impact us. Of course, we had those wildfires back in the fall of last year. Of course, those were circulating around the jet stream, which travels thousands and thousands of miles, and of course, hundreds of miles, I should say, but travels around rapidly around the area. So that's something to keep in consideration. Of course, taking a break here and see what's coming up here on the who's coming up here on the show today. Of course, we do have Tristan Blake Ryan's his show, Ryan's Report. Check his Facebook page out, give him a like, and subscribe to his YouTube channel, Tristan Blake Ryan's. Later, after his show today, I'm going to try to get these shows in order. Eureka Venair from 1:30 to 2 comes on today. After Eureka, we'll have Joe Gerhardt from 2 to 2:30. After that one, we will have some of our newer members here. Of course, it looks like okay, so we'll have Waleed Ahmed from 2:30 to 3. And then, I'm sorry, we got that wrong. So, Amen Maki from 12 to 12:30, and then Eureka, and then after that, it's Joe. And then Fridays are a jam-packed show, by the way. Fridays are our busy days here. Mondays and Wednesdays, it's fairly quiet here in the studio. But then again, Roderick and Derek Owen from 4 to 4:30. Check out the Owen Twins. There's a small break from 4:30 to 5. Finally, Bailey Spear will wrap up the day from 5 to 6. She's got a lot of information about women's history, and so that's something interesting if you have a vibe about that. Of course, it is Women's History Month. That's wrapping things up. That kind of reminds me, we'll pull up see about Women's History Month quickly here as we start to conclude the show. It's about 15 minutes past the hour. So I think I did a little bit of a debriefing earlier in the month about this. I forget what episode it was. So you can check it out on my YouTube channel there. So since 1987, the United States has formally recognized March as National Women's History Month. Every month has a story to tell and gifts to share with the world, so get ready, because the month is all about honoring magnificent ladies, and of course we are ready to celebrate the fullest National Women's History Month. Of course, History.com has a nice article on that, as well as National Today, which is most of the days I get my information from. And so we appreciate all those women out there. And of course, like we said, we had the women that went to space, Sally Ride out there several years ago, and women in engineering, STEM-related movies. I forget the name of the movie every time I think about it. It's got those 3 actors in there. Did math and science. Of course, you may know what I'm referring to if you live out there and listening to it. So, of course, speaking of women, there's been a lot of women Democrats been running, trying to get things going for president. So you may have been seeing that in the news here lately about those women trying to run for president, which is a good. Of course, diversity. A lot of people saying that's a good thing. Others are saying, no, what are you doing here? But, the way I see it is like ever since I think that Hillary Clinton, when she ran, it seemed like that kind of sparked the interest for a lot of women to get out there and kind of get their voices heard for sure. So, anyway, okay, we had the scores from last night's game here now. I know I'm kind of flipping all over the place. I'm going to wrap up here, do like another segment, and then we'll conclude the show. UVA, Oregon, UVA defeated, moves on today. They played Oregon last night, 53-49. Michigan and Texas. Texas Tech moves on, was the score 63-44. Tennessee and Purdue, I was telling you about that one, the 99-94 final into overtime. So that was a big game last night. So there you go. Alrighty, folks, so we're going to conclude the show here on this Friday. I've got a little bit of course, we have busy schedules here on RadioFreeRadford.com. Check out all the shows that air here on the website, and of course follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Radio Free Radford. Like us and tweet us on Radio Free Ratty, or you can't like us, but you can follow us on Radio Free Ratty there on Twitter, and also follow RU Weather One, the letter R, the letter U, and Weather spelled out with the number 1 on Twitter and Instagram. There's a lot of great information that is tweeted and posted on those social platforms, so we have that coming up for you. And again, it's a lot of great hits coming your way here on Radio Free Radford, and of course we hope you appreciate listening on here on the air and here on the YouTube stream. And we'll try to do something like this. Maybe this is a little bit more different concept about it. Of course, guests next week, I haven't really scheduled anybody yet, but I'll be working with those this weekend to get those running and going for the upcoming week's show. And of course, as you remember, I kind of said if there's not really a guest on the show, I may not be doing a lot of these live video recordings, or they'll be pre-recorded videos then. And once they are up and edited, so I kind of see how this works out for you, and we'll see if you like the input about it. Let me know. I'll probably put this video up to Facebook, and you can check it out.